Hello and welcome to Behind the Podcast. I'm Brandon.
I'm Moose.
I'm Weston.
And today we're just going to have a casual conversation, talk about what's coming up.
Do we ever not have a casual conversation?
We're so incredibly professional that this is going to be a first for us. We're going to try really, really hard not to be amazing professionals.
Those of you who enjoy the hyperstructure of anything that we do, be prepared to, be disappointed. So what do you want to talk about, Brandon?
We're going to talk about news to start off with. Final Fantasy 15 was unveiled not too long ago at insert date here. And
September 30th is when it's coming out.
That's the release date?
Yeah.
Yeah, they seem really confident that that's going to be the release. They seem to be in the spot where they can.
Yeah. So Weston's going at it blind. She doesn't want to be spoiled.
Right. I mean, I know.
You didn't see the demo at all either?
I saw part of the demo, just enough to know that it looked super Monster Hunter-y.
Yeah.
And
really
because I was
at
a family member's house who was playing it. And then I know there's cars. I know there's dude bros on a bro trip.
Yep, road trip.
And
it sounds like your kind of game.
And what's funny is I'm excited about the car and the Monster Hunter aspect of it, and Katie is excited about the broad trip and how hilarious they all are together. So yeah, we're gonna go into that blind instead of, because these days, which actually has been happening for like 10 years now, but this also happens in movies a lot, and it just makes me mad. People give away
everything,
almost the entire story. You can, if you're an intelligent human being, you can figure out the entire story from most trailers. You don't need almost anything else like that. Like imagine if Final Fantasy X, they show you Seymour, right, and battling a huge, gigantic, ridiculous version of Seymour that's at the end, and it just flashes that for 2 seconds, but you're like, oh. Then you play the game and you see him normally and you're like, that guy's going to betray me and he's the end boss. Great. Now I don't need to play the next 20 hours to get to that point. I just know that that's going to happen. Stuff like that is ridiculous. So I actually cut myself off from a lot of news. I much rather prefer to work off word of mouth of other people than actually look up anything.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I didn't watch 100% of the unveiling.
Yeah, they had like a whole event.
It was a really long Twitch live stream, yeah. They brought in like 2 game commentators and just sat them on a couch and had them bicker at each other while they played clips from the game.
Yeah, that was so strange. And besides that, I mean, like, yeah, everybody has a whole event, but they literally sold tickets in Las Vegas to this. Like... I don't know. I got an email from them saying, "Hey, you want to buy some tickets to this ridiculous event and fly out to Las Vegas to see trailers of a game?" I guess I'm just not that type of fan who wants to be. That's just bragging rights. That's not like you got any value out of it.
It's been a while since I paid them for a Final Fantasy game, much less tickets to go watch a trailer for a game.
Yeah.
So.
Right. And they were live streaming it anyway, so there's no reason really to go out there other than bragging rights.
Yeah, people talk about swag a lot, which really bothers me. If you want swag, by the way, don't go to GDC. The number of people who were there when I was trying to get like portfolio reviews and things like that, and they were just there and they would wait in line at this ridiculous line that literally took an hour to wait in, and they'd get there and go, "Hey, do you have any swag?" I wanted to absolutely punch those people.
I feel like because of E3, people don't know what GDC is. GDC is the Game Developers Conference.
Yeah.
And really, that title has been like polluted lately because
it has
WWDC or WWDC, which is Macworld, where Apple really announces everything, is the Worldwide Developers Conference.
Right.
But it's been sort of polluted now because that's where they announce everything. So everyone thinks, yeah, Macworld's coming up. We're gonna find out about new Mac stuff and get lots of swag and stuff. But it's a developers conference with developer panels. Same with Google I/O. Everyone, well, not everyone, I guess, nerdy people like Google I/O, whether they're developers or not, because every single year Google gives out hundreds of dollars worth of stuff to people, new phones, new tablets, and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's don't go to a developer conference so that you can get swag. Go to Comic-Con or go to
Yeah, that's what those are for. Like those are your place. The funny thing is GDC is really expensive to go to, but a lot of them are like students and they only go to certain ones, or they like worm their way into.
Developer conference are priced with the expectation that a company is sending you to them.
Right.
And the company sends one or two like senior techs to those things, and that's it. And so they spend, $10,000 or whatever on it.
Yeah, unless you're an indie company and then you guys scrape together all of your life savings to go once to
fire a guy so you can send someone out.
Exactly. Those poor dudes, man. So
Final Fantasy 15, I watched maybe about 3/4 of it, and there wasn't really any spoilers to it. It was mostly them showing off the engines and stuff.
Yeah.
It looks really nice.
Yeah, I thought it did. I saw, there were target gameplay things when I watched it forever ago to see if I was going to be excited about it or not. And that's kind of thing. Like, I say I don't watch the trailers, but I have to watch something to get excited about it. And then I cut myself off of it. So I watched some of them, and I watched some gameplay, and it all looked live, and it looked good. I thought it looked really excellent. We're thinking we're going to get a PS4 for it.
You don't have a PS4?
No, I have an Xbox One, but I really don't like it.
Now's a good time to get a PS4 then.
Yeah.
Because the new PS4 is coming out soon.
Right. I was hoping that would come out before September 30th. Or that there'd be like a Final Fantasy bundle with it. But it feels like right now they've announced absolutely everything that's going to be released by then. So I don't think that's going to happen. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I'm not going to buy one until it's the new PS4 since I just missed out on the whole time frame of this one.
Yeah, although this one, the old PS4s might go on sale.
Yeah.
To get rid of the stock, unless they're going to sell them side by side, PS4 and 4.5.
Yeah, there's something that always sucks about being like one step behind because.
Well, you won't get your VR games.
Oh yeah, I doubt So, I would love to go for that PlayStation VR. I think they have like the nicest looking one.
Oculus. No, not Oculus.
No.
Morpheus. That's what it was.
Morpheus. Yeah, because they got the two thingamabobs that you play with. It's all like the Vive. Also, the Vive looks really good for Steam. But man, all that stuff is so expensive.
We'll talk about VR. We'll talk about VR in a little bit because there's a lot we could say about VR.
That's true. Yeah.
And yeah, we should probably talk about that today. But yeah, the Morpheus definitely has the most polished look, I think, at least from the prototypes that I've seen of it, which all of their prototypes so far have looked like consumer models. Like they didn't play around with that.
Yeah, they definitely have.
Although that's how you get hype. Like the Oculus prototypes looked horrible.
Yeah, they did. They looked really stupid. Well, and we totally lost what I was going to say there. Anyways, so besides 15, Miguel, are you interested in 15?
I'm going to watch someone play it. I don't think I'm going to play it myself. I haven't really been super excited about a Final Fantasy game in a while.
Well, me either, and I guess that's why I might be self-hyping just so that I'm into one for once. But, part of all of video games is tricking yourself anyways.
See, I haven't played a Final Fantasy game that I didn't love. I've loved them to varying degrees, but I love them all.
Did you skip any games?
I've not played 100% of them.
Okay.
Did you love 10-2? To a degree?
I have not. Sequels are not Final Fantasy games, right?
Oh no!
Come on.
Not a single one. Because you don't count Dirge of Cerberus. You don't count Crystal
count
Chronicles. You don't count.
What? Crystal Chronicles is amazing.
It was a good game, but you don't count the sequels because most of them aren't good.
So you only count the games that are good in the series and not the bad ones.
Brandon,
so that you can say that you
didn't
has
a
nobody
functioning
Nobody counts the Final Fantasy sequels. I did play a little bit of 10-2.
Did you play them? Okay.
I played Dirge of Cerberus.
What did you think?
Dirge of Cerberus wasn't good. 10-2 was all right. I wasn't a huge fan of the moving from they changed it up so that it was more of a map adventure type thing where you're just always on the ship and you pick where you want to go, and there was a mission there. So it was sort of mission oriented, which basically made the whole thing kind of feel like mini games, but well, that's probably not the right word, but you know,
I know what you mean, like episodes or something.
Right? Yeah. And I know that there was
that.
an overarching story. They did all of that, but it didn't feel quite as nice as your traditional
running through the world. And I mean, it's linear, but it's progressive instead of just hopping all over it. I saw it. It has a linear kind of way that you move through it. And it being a sequel, it was like, well, do you want to walk straight through this whole thing again like you've already done? Or just hop to places that are familiar but in a different aspect? And different things happen. So like you go back to Besaid like 4 or 5 times and different things happen there. And I liked that because I was already familiar with all of the things. The reason why it's even relevant is because I'm playing Final Fantasy X right now, the HD remake on Vita, because I'm the only one in the entire world who owns a Vita. And I'm going to be playing 10-2 in not too long. I'm like 3/4 of the way through. So I'm excited to play that again.
So I think the thing is with the sequels is with the mainline games they do incremental experiments. So they'll change one thing. They'll change like one aspect of the battle system, and then the next one they'll be like, oh, we'll keep that, and then we'll change another thing.
Yeah, 10-2 changed a lot.
But with the sequels, all of the sequels are like huge experimental games. They change a lot of stuff. Dirge of Cerberus, let's go first-person shooter. Or third-person shooter, I think it was, right?
Yep. I don't know. I didn't play it. I didn't even see it.
Which is just a huge departure from Final Fantasy.
I like that.
No, it's fine. I mean, I'm glad that they can get that out there, but
yeah.
that's why you don't count the sequels, because the sequels are experimental games. And a lot of people hated the sequels because of that.
To me, if it's got the brand name on it, it's official. You know, it's counted.
Crystal Chronicles was also a huge experiment, although it was cute and fun.
It's chibi.
Yes, it is. But I loved it. It was great.
Yeah, because you love chibi.
They were
you
so
love everything
furry.
chibi. You just buy chibi games
They were
and you
so
put posters of them
furry.
up on the wall.
It had the people from. It had the. Oh, don't bring that up again. Yeah. I guess, but that's sort of. You can't really make that argument anymore though, because 13 was 3.
3 games. That was good. That's the
and
one
they
I was
weren't.
doing.
And they weren't
That's
episode
like
1, 2,
right?
and 3. It was 13, 13, 2, 13, 3.
3. Yeah, 13-3. Just seeing that killed me because they were like XIII-3 and seeing Roman numerals next to.
What do you want? XIII-III?
Pick one. Yeah, it's either that or it's.
I think that's pretty standard.
Or it can just have an under title. That's fine to me. You
So
know?
XII-3 is unacceptable, but X2 is all right.
No, that's pretty crappy
Okay.
too.
That's what I'm
right,
saying.
all
That's,
right.
that's pretty standard for the way that they do.
And they didn't even do an under title for X2. They just did X2. It doesn't say like Yuna's Adventure or anything like that.
Yeah.
Yuna pretends to be more like Riku.
Dirge of Cerberus is the Dirge of Cerberus is the only one with a title, isn't it?
No, there's Lightning Returns, right? I think that's 13-2 Lightning Returns, isn't it?
Is it?
I'm like 80% sure. Well, I haven't played them, so. Anyways,
Well, yeah.
We'll find out.
Yeah, I could be wrong then. Dirge of Cerberus is the only one I ever remember being explicitly referred to by its byline, though. Dirge of Cerberus. Nobody ever says Final Fantasy VII Dirge of Cerberus or whatever. It's just Dirge of Cerberus.
what about the one with black-haired guy?
Black-haired guy.
It was on the PSP. The Final Fantasy VII, where you play as the actual dude who did all the things that Cloud thinks he did.
yeah. The sort of prequel thing that happened with starts with a Z, I think, doesn't it?
But Zack, that's
Zack,
his name.
yeah.
But that's not what it's called, I don't think. No, I guess not.
Yeah. So 13.2 doesn't have a tagline.
Yeah. I don't know. But that was that one, and that one was considered pretty good. And that one's referred to by its tagline too, even though I can't remember it.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember hearing about that game, but I haven't seen anything of it.
The problem is it came out during the same time as Dissidia.
Also, I've got that.
I remember that.
It's also on the PSP.
Yeah.
I have both of them, Dissidia and Dissidia 2. Which was just a remake of Dissidia with bug fixes.
Right. That blew me away. So at the time, I was pirating PSP games because I was a very poor...
That's what everyone did.
...student at the time.
Pretty sure that's what everyone
that was
did.
a bad time for them, for me anyways. Like, I actually bought, probably 30 PSP games, but, I couldn't keep that up, and there's so many to play. And I bought Dissidia 2... after pirating the first one because I thought it was really good and the new one was coming out, and I was like, okay, I owe them money. Essentially, it was my idea. So then I bought Dissidia, and I was like, what the fuck? It's the same game. And I'm like, well, fine, you got me and I got you.
So there were a couple of changes between the two, which was the minigame map thingy. So in Dissidia 1, it was sort of more like, I don't know what to compare it to, like Sorry or whatever. Like you move along a game board.
Right.
And then in Dissidia 2, it was an open world map that you traversed through.
Yeah.
But other than that, it was the same game.
Yeah. It was fun, although I'm terrible at fighting games.
Oh, that one you just button mash.
Yeah, so I figured out that I could just button mash with certain characters and win it, and then it kind of became lame because there was just no intention going into it.
I mean, all you have to do is you corner someone and button mash, and they never get a chance to attack.
Yeah. All right. So besides Final Fantasy that we're playing, what else are you guys playing?
Oh wait, I had more to say about 15.
Yeah, I'm sure you do.
Yeah.
What?
So you haven't seen any of it, man. See, have you seen it, Miguel?
A little bit.
So one of the things that I thought was really neat was the magic is now environmental.
Yeah.
What does
So
that mean?
if you cast like Blizzard or whatever or Blizzaga,
Oh,
or
it has an
any
environmental
term,
like
like the whole like you're
VFX.
sort of So like everything sort of starts to get colder. Your characters start frosting on them.
That's cool, but I would only want that to happen at like the Blizzaga stage. If you're like, just
they have varying levels of.
Okay,
that.
good.
Yeah,
if you're
it's
like,
not the same for everyone.
Well, I was gonna say, if you're like Blizzard, pew, and then like everything has this huge effect, and the guy's like 5 damage, I'd be like, okay, that oversold it.
But like it lingers too. So like, and it's cold out. People will develop, well, at least with the Blizzaga, which is what they demoed. Like everything starts to frost over. Enemies start to move a little bit slower because they're like really frosting over.
That's cool.
It's interesting.
I'll see it. I'll see it in play.
I'm really excited to see how they apply that to pretty much all of the magic, because there's some spells out there that would be really like just Demi would be pretty neat.
I never even understood what Demi was.
It's gravity.
Yeah, but still, you're still just like, what's gravity?
What is gravity?
Well, how do you use that to hurt somebody?
Well,
All it would
You
do
compress
is
them.
What are physics even?
What is it? I think Demi it would do half of your remaining life.
quarter,
Quarter of your remaining life.
at least in 10.
Yeah. It's changed through them.
But then everything that you would want to do that to
is immune to Demi.
is immune to Demi. So you're like, oh, quarter.
But
Okay, at last I had this big monster in front of me.
It affects
Oh,
the
he's
field, though.
immune. Yeah, that's what I was.
So if you've got a lot of enemies out.
don't laugh when you all just smash into a singularity in the middle, like Mass Effect. Mass
Yeah,
Effect is
yeah.
a singularity, and it's really cool.
I mean, yeah, that would be interesting, because even your own player characters were starting to get frost on them when they did Blizzaga. So
Yeah,
I don't think it has negative effects on your characters, but it has environmental effects on your characters.
I'm hoping that you can change either who you're playing as, or like within your little 4-man party, just to take command of the other ones, or that you can switch weapons with the main guy. Because from the only thing that I saw, it looks like his weapon changes forms in a few different ways. But
He has like a warp magic, so he warps weapons to his hand, and he throws them and warps to the weapons.
right,
and stuff
there's
like that.
another game that had that, like already had that, and I'm trying to remember what it was. And I remember when I saw that, I was like, meh. Like, I'm still excited for the game, but that's why I was hoping I could be like a gunslinger or something. Because there's like the guy there who's hilarious, and he's the youthful, ridiculous dude. But he's got those pistols, and he seems really funny. And like, I would rather play as him than the prince. The prince just seems kind of void of personality from what I've seen, which isn't much. So hopefully I'm totally wrong. But yeah, I was hoping you could change your weapons at least somewhat, because other Final Fantasy games, right? You play as
there's not a single Final Fantasy game I can think of where you couldn't change weapons.
well,
You had a class of weapons, but
or it's rather that you could be, you played like multiple characters at the same time, right? If you couldn't change weapons, like Titus can't equip any of Auron's weapons or anything like that,
right, he has a class of weapons.
Right, but you can't change that.
You can't change your class, right?
I want to change the class of weapons.
You can't change your class in any of them.
X2.
Okay, sure. In X2, you can change your outfit, which somehow changes your class.
Yeah, I love it. It's super fun.
Although, now that I think about it, I think you could, in 9, equip anything to Zidane and everyone else?
I don't think so.
No?
No.
No, yeah, you're right, because only the chef could have the giant forks.
Yeah, and he had 2 classes of weapon. He had a double-bladed, staff sword, and then he had his daggers.
Yeah. So yeah, and that's you're class locked in all of them. That's pretty standard fare.
Yeah, I'm just hoping I can play because you're playing as a single person running around and the other ones follow you. I'm hoping you can switch between those.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember if they mentioned anything about that, but I can't.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything about that. I don't know.
That's just my hope.
They didn't demo anything about that, but
Not at all.
I really hope the car, it's so central and focal. I hope they're not making it central and focal just aesthetically. I know you can drive it, and I know it can break down, but I'm really hoping that those mechanics are very robust, and that they're not just like a new version of Final Fantasy VIII's stupid car, where you're just like ming, 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 and then it drove like quarter speed to where you could just run off the grass, and then where it runs out of fuel, and then you ditch its stupid thing until you run to a city, buy more stupid gas, and the only point of it is that you don't get to fight enemies while you're in it, chocobo style.
So I think, because they did show off the car and chocobos.
Oh yeah.
I think that it's your road trip car. I mean, you can take it with you the whole.
Is it upgradable? Does it have stats?
It's a car.
What? Does he get to change spark plugs?
I can upgrade my car. That's like a thing. Upgrading cars is a thing. That's not like an insane
Nobody
thing.
upgrades their car in the middle of a road trip, okay?
Yes, they do. You have not seen proper road trips.
You've not been on a road trip with Wes.
I guess.
You degraded your car in the last one.
Oh, wow.
Called out.
Wow.
That was unfortunate.
Yeah. It's all your fault now.
Now it's my fault.
Yeah. It's got. I mean, there are gas stations in the game.
I'm sure. Yeah.
You can pull
which
up
is
you can pull up to. And use.
I'm not saying that I don't want there to be gas, but I don't want that to be like, what's the car mechanic? It needs gas. Well, whoop-dee.
They have the other thing that the.
Can you wash the car?
I don't know.
You would spend so much time washing that car.
Mm-hmm.
It's a convertible too. Like you can top down, top up.
Nice. I'm liking it.
But the other thing that happens is there's conversation. Like it is really a bro trip. Like they have casual conversation throughout.
I saw a couple of those. I was hoping that would be. I don't know. I haven't found a game, and I can't think of how to implement it. But like Dragon Age and things like that, they don't. Their casual conversations are like, you pass what's called a safe point, where they know you're not going to be in combat when you pass that point, or it's extremely unlikely, right? And it triggers the command for it to figure out what conversations you can possibly have with your combination of characters, which in this doesn't seem like you can change characters, maybe. Although that'd be... Katie and I are...
Not in the beginning, at least.
Right. We're really hoping that you get to, like, throw the girl into the road trip, and it makes it, like, really awkward. All these dudes are like, dude, so... hey princess, how are you today? Never mind.
Based on the comments of the creator of this game, or whoever it was, director, creator, whatever, I don't believe that there will be any girls in the party.
Man,
his someone asked him why there wasn't any girl protagonists in any of the stuff that they saw, or
Mm-hmm.
And his answer was basically, well, I really just wanted to make a game about bros being bros. And so it's just 4 bros on a road trip.
And as you know, no, he should have stopped right there and said, and as you know, bros before hoes.
Well, so he continued on with, and I just feel like if we introduced a girl into the party, the bros, they just wouldn't feel like they could be themselves anymore.
That's what I want. I want them to have that introduced and them to just be like really awkward and like the really, ridiculous one to be just completely having to like saying
completely
ridiculous,
shut down.
Well, and he'll just be like, "Oh man, look at the tits of that girl," and then he looks at the princess. He's like, "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I don't think that women are just objects of my desire, and that woman is really just a compliment on how she's. Never mind." And the princess just being wildly bewildered by him and. Yeah.
Or just laughing around.
Yeah, or just laughing really hard.
Completely like nerds.
Yeah.
Surrounded by nerds.
I feel like the girl Sid in that, right, would just be like,
yeah,
hell yeah, look at them.
They haven't showed any of the late game for obvious reasons, so
good.
We don't know.
That's good.
We don't know for.
I'm excited to find
sure.
out as I play it. That's not going to change if I'm going to play it very much, but it would make me more or less excited.
It would be nice.
Yeah, it would be nice to have some
diversity.
Yeah, some challenges to the form.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to say that in 12-2, right? They flip the conventions, but they it's kind of for girls in a lot of the ways.
It's a dress-up game.
Considering, well, no, not that it's a dress-up game. See, that's sexist.
It's not my fault it's a dress-up game.
No, but it's your fault for thinking that because that the dress-up part is why it's for girls. It's for girls because it has 3 main female protagonists and no male protagonists at all. But the problem is that even with that, they still...
Wait, isn't the guy, directing the missions a guy? The guy who's like...
No, but they portray him as an idiot. So...
He's still the boss. I mean...
Well, no, Riku overrides him constantly. And she just doesn't want to be bothered with doing the menial crap. And so they have a kid, and so obviously he's not exactly an authority figure. And then they have Brother, who's a complete moron, who Riku makes fun of every 5 seconds and who is madly in love with Yuna or whatever. So the women are still in power, right? Even if they're not directing things. But the thing is, the entire thing is about Yuna finding her boyfriend. So that pulls from it. And in this one, it just seems funny because it seems like, we're a world culture now. And a lot of, the memes and stuff like that come out of America, go into Japan and vice versa. And there's a lot of overlap and sharing. And things get changed a little bit here and there. And I don't know. I'd like to talk to somebody who actually is who knows the culture of Japan in this specific instance, but it seems like Japan is really going against this political correctness movement that's happening, which is
that's good. Everyone should.
Okay, Trump. Anyways,
just because I don't agree with how extreme political correctness has gotten doesn't make me Hitler. Okay,
extremism is fine.
He called you Hitler. He called you Trump.
I know that's
same thing.
That's a pretty funny joke.
Same thing.
No, well, there's extremism in everything. But the idea that you shouldn't be the idea that you should never care about how somebody else might feel based on a label you apply to them is not correct. You should have empathy for people. That's a thing. When you go extremely crazy and you're like, look, that girl has boobs at all and that offends me, then yes, you're those ridiculous.
See, now I consider that 2 completely different arguments or situations there. You shouldn't label people or you shouldn't use sexist labels or racist labels or anything like that. You just shouldn't have those ideas to begin with. But the fact that you can't do that and calling that political correctness, I think that is being overly sensitive and over censorship.
I think there is oversensitivity. You need to correct
the actual issue, which is people with their racist and sexist views, not the problem of people saying things.
But you can't correct people's thoughts.
It's very difficult.
Well, that's where we need to be putting our effort, not in censoring people. Censoring people is reinforcing people's, beliefs that these people are causing. Like people who say, "Oh man, the Jews control everything," and then having people come down on you and say you're not allowed to say that. Then they're just going to reinforce that and say, "Well, there you go. They're just trying to control me." Like that's the problem. You're attacking this in the wrong place. If you attack them,
they get defensive, and then they think
that's
still
why
right.
That's why Trump has so many supporters right now. Is because he's saying these people are attacking me, causing them to attack him, and now all of his supporters are backing him.
Although,
so next time on Behind the Gender Politics,
really, solid behind the politics. Well, so here's the thing, though. So the industry is wildly and generally white males.
Sure.
Like. Man, I went to a friend of ours, game studio, and an interview there, which I'll never mention the name of, but that's all it was, except for the lady who was hiring people, which really, like, I don't want to... That's a thought that you just go, okay, so your HR lady is the only person who is not a white male. Like, that is the only person. And that also, HR is a very commonly, like, oh, that's a woman's role. Like, that happens. And
see, these are the pre-problems that we need to fix, not political correctness.
Right. So, okay. Well, then, I'm glad that you see that. So the thing is, if you're all white dudes in a game-making studio, you're going to make games that are probably going to feature you. That is natural. And that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's your view, and that's
you write about what you
trust
know.
Yourself to do.
You write about what you know.
So the problem is, because that's the way it is, until they get more people in the industry, which means you need to broaden your hiring practices and things like that.
And there are a lot of initiatives to try and do this. A lot of STEM programs and stuff like that. So.
And I've seen, and the thing is, I went to
I will say some of them I find crazily offensive.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. Actually,
what is it? Google's Made with Code program, for instance, is super pandering to their stereotypical view of girls.
I know
things like we want girls to program, so we're gonna make a
Barbie
fashion
adventures.
Yeah,
like you're like, dude, that is not. They literally. Oh my god, they're people.
It has gotten some.
Right.
Like, it has
they're
gotten some
exactly
girls.
like a male programmer, except that they are female.
Yeah,
and that's the difference.
It has gotten some girl. It's gotten a few girl participants and stuff like that. But I feel like it's alienating a lot of the people who don't just play with Barbie. That's like the first video game console made for for girls was the I can't remember the name of it. It was a console by Bandai. And it had one controller because girls don't need friends. And and it was
did it not support a second controller?
Nope. And it was pink.
Oh wow!
It was pink, and it only had dress-up games. And what you could do is you could make a doll, dress them up in the game, and then print it with the built-in printer. And then you could go and show all your friends with your printer stickers.
Your friends who won't play with you.
Right, yeah.
Well, you know what's really funny, though? I would play the shit out of that.
No, when I was growing up,
I would play the
when I was
shit
growing up
out
and I
of
was like 10 or 11, one of my friends had a Barbie dress-up game on their thing. And the thing was, it didn't say Barbie on it, which was weird. Maybe it was a knockoff or something. Maybe. I don't know. But I actually thought it was really fun. It had a lot of cool 3D features and stuff because they were just doing a character. It was one model on the screen.
Mm-hmm. So, I will say, most of the Barbie games look atrocious with their 3D models.
Right, they do. But this was like an era where having 3D games, it was a little bit before EverQuest, I think, even. And maybe it was like right at the same time. And of course, EverQuest 3D models, they had like 100 of them on the screen at one time, so they were all crap in order for you to be able to run it at all. And this one, it had one model, and it was like the most high-fidelity model I'd ever seen in a video game. And I was like blown away. And then they had all of these different clothing and things like that had like fake cloth physics on it. They were pre-animated, right? Mm-hmm. But they did that. And I was entranced by this game. And I actually played it quite a bit when I was at that relative's house. But then I was telling my dad I had played that, and all of a sudden he's worried about me. And, it's so stupid. But Katie plays games, right? And she plays some games that have like a stereotype. She's pretty girly. So she plays certain games that have a stereotype of girliness to them, but it's always a twist of what she actually finds interesting. Usually she finds it's like 95% story for her. And whenever they include a female in there who's really cool, that's when she gets much more into the story. So even as like the most stereotypical female girl who could play it, girly girl or whatever, playing a video game, that's still a demographic that doesn't want what you're putting out. Like there is the only demographic that they're hitting with that kind of crap is ones that are still completely accepting everything society has told them they need to be, right? So because they're being told to do it, and you're young, and boys do it too. Everybody who's like 12 and under pretty much does what society is telling them that they're supposed to do for the most part. That's like when you start figuring out that you don't have to do that.
Yeah.
So, also, children are not the main money demographic. So, people who still do that, and these games that don't have the proper, completely ignoring half the demographic of game players and things like, it's just ridiculous. Like, you're just losing money.
Well, children aren't the demographic for AAA titles, but children don't recognize bad games, so that's why we still have. So
you can make bad games and send them to children.
We still have a huge market of mass-produced shitty games. They still make a lot of Barbie games. They make really bad movie games and stuff like that.
It's a bad time for it now, though, because Minecraft is just devastating the child market.
Minecraft is huge, but Minecraft again is highlighting that children and really no one really cares about graphic quality except for bros, and and so the AAAs are spending all of this time, perfecting, the 70 trillion polygon single character models and stuff like that.
Really care about that.
And then you've got Hasbro and all them others making like Barbie games or whatever, with like 10 polygons per character model. Yeah. And kids are like, "Oh man, Barbie, yay!" And
oh man,
and it costs them like $10. Like,
yeah, it's well, not like we've talked about before, a coherent art vision is important, but graphical fidelity is not nearly as important.
Right. You can go back and listen to podcast insert number here for that.
Yeah. I think that was like 1 or 2.
Whichever one's titled art.
Yeah.
Drawn Together, you mean?
Yeah, Drawn Together.
Drawn Together. There you go. That was it.
Copyright.
Moose named it. Yeah, so
what you're going to say about Japan and their memes?
Yeah, like 20 minutes ago?
Yeah.
I was going to say that they have this very anti being told what to do thing
just
right
like
now.
Texas.
Yeah, really. But they, Hideo Kojima, I think I've mentioned this before somewhere on here, but Kojima made Quiet, and he said, which by itself is a stupid thing to say, but he said, "Oh, I can't wait to see the cosplayers for it," which I think was just him making fun of everyone who's mad about it. Mm-hmm. But like, really,
people cosplay Bayonetta too, like,
right. So spoilers for why Quiet is naked is that she gets all of her power from going slowly, so you can skip or pause. But she gets all her power from parasites that are all over her body. Yeah, I know. And so she needs to absorb sunlight.
Can I skip this spoiler?
Yeah, really.
No.
The reason why she wears a bikini everywhere is because she needs the maximum amount of sunlight to skin surface ratio. But here's the thing. Tons of other people use parasites in that, and none of them are like that.
Yeah. And no one's listening to the dude running around like in a banana hammock because he needs max sunlight.
Right. It doesn't make any sense at all.
But that's why she's the strongest.
She also doesn't speak, because I made a silent female sex object, but I made a story reason for it. Because she has parasites in her vocal cords that if she speaks English, that's how they're spread. The parasites grow and eventually kill you when you speak certain languages. Now, that idea, that is a very Metal Gear idea, I have to say. But the idea that only she is the only one who decides to be quiet, and she happens to be the sex object, and literally all the other people, she's not the only one with any of this. She also can speak Navajo, which she decides not to do around another Navajo dude, for no reason at all. Like, no reason. No reason at all. I know the reason they
couldn't
gave...
find someone to voice act Navajo.
Well, then she did speak eventually, but it was so stupid. And then at the end of the game, she starts speaking Navajo, and then she has to start speaking English. For whatever reason, and then she runs off and disappears, and they remove her from the game permanently until people got really mad and demanded that she got put back in the game because she is the most OP buddy in the entire game. She's ridiculous. She can kill all of your enemies without you lifting a finger.
Yep.
That's why she's naked.
If you let her. But like, so he said no spoilers. Find out in the game why she's naked and why she doesn't speak. And then I found out, and I'm like, you're an asshole. Like, I like the game, but Quiet is a crap character who doesn't make any sense, and you just tried to get away with it, right? Sid in the new one is, ridiculous Daisy Duke's mechanic girl. I was ready for her to be literally, I think she would be change absolutely nothing, but clothe her like a mechanic. And I think she would be a very compelling character. She's pretty funny, pretty, ginky, I guess is it, right? Healthy and running around and excited or whatever. So she falls in that stereotype. She's also a mechanic. But like Japan, every time I feel like they put in a girl into a non-stereotype role, she either has to be sexualized or really, really feminine and maybe bad at her job.
Needs to be saved.
And the male protagonist is like doing her a favor or something like that. That happens in a lot of anime and a lot of things like that. And
that's your traditional fairy tale story too. Princess saved, knight in armor, blah blah blah.
What? I'm talking about Sid, the mechanic.
Yeah.
The girl?
Yeah, it has to be saved. Blah blah blah.
Okay, I guess so. You said princess, and there is a princess.
No, yeah, I'm saying like that goes back farther than anime. Like that's your traditional fairy tale.
Right, it's true. But they
arrangement.
I feel like if they wanted to battle this people being mad at them for this ridiculous bro road trip, you also need to have compelling female characters, even if they're not centrally highlighted. And I actually like her as a character. But the entire time I see her, she's just falling out, and you can see her underwear and everything like that. And it's like, guys, come on. I feel like as the main demographic that they're trying to hit with that idea, right?
Well, I mean, clearly you're not the main demographic.
A male gamer. Well, no, I'm just more, I don't follow base instincts. I feel insulted.
Is he the male demographic, or is he just what the publishers want?
I guess I'm married now, so I'm out of that demographic that they think that they're hitting.
No, you're not.
but like they're trying to target, male gamers, right?
I mean, as long as sex sells holds true.
The thing is, I don't think it does.
That will continue to happen.
Do you know, Tomb Raider sold a lot, and she's not sexy. She's attractive as a person, but she's not centrally highlighted, and that's a very fine balance. Having an attractive character.
Wait, isn't she still wearing all tight clothes?
Not really.
It doesn't look the same.
It doesn't.
It's not the same as when we thought she was wearing tight clothes, and it really was 8 polygons
to
her character,
polygons, yeah.
and then 2 of them were in front of her.
No, and in the newer one, even she's wearing like winter clothes, and there's a difference between well-fitted clothing that's like stylish,
right,
and just in quotes tight.
Or just hanging out,
right? Or things hanging out. Like she's covered, and she has stuff that is useful in the environment she's in. It looks like something you would wear. It looks like something I would wear if I would wear the male version of what she's wearing, run around in the jungle, and she gets upgrades, and what she upgrades and puts her on herself looks good. And there is no unlockable bikinis or anything like that. And yeah, it looks great. And like that character is excellent, and that game sold pretty well. It didn't sell like majorly fantastically, but I think that's more because people are very tired of Tomb Raider, rather than they thought that she was ugly. Because the previous one, previous reboot, she was sexy, and it didn't sell at all. So,
yeah. But I mean that's still a truth in marketing right now. You can't watch a commercial without someone.
But I think that's a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Right.
I
because
think
because that's what publishers are going to force people to do.
That's what people think.
That's the problem.
That's what they do.
Well, yeah. So that's the problem. Is right now we've got publishers with marketing departments controlling what gets put into the games.
Right.
Yeah.
And they're also, in a way, controlling who gets put on the game, which is where you get people who are like, oh well, tee-hee-hee, I snuck in, a naked girl in this game and gave it a reason. It's because the company's beholden to a publisher, and the publisher likes these ideas, and this guy's got the ideas.
Yeah, they think that, and the publishers, and the leading thing is that sex sells. But name me, and you might be able to, so I'm interested, but name me one indie game that has a sexualized character on it that has sold well.
Minecraft.
Man, that's Steve. Them blocks.
There was a girl originally in the alpha.
I played the alpha. There was.
Them voxels.
That's right. Mm-hmm. But it was so like you couldn't tell.
Yeah.
I was trying to think of it, and then I remembered that it was the hair, right?
Yeah,
the hair was
different.
Yeah, it was different. That's right.
Yeah. Let me think.
I can't think of one.
Yeah, I can't.
I can't think of one.
Granted, none of us have played all indie games. So.
No, but I'm severely interested and invested in indie games, and I go through the indie list every week and look for new things.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
you have the indie box.
There are like porn indie games, so I'm assuming you're discounting that entire genre. Then,
do they sell well? Do they sell extremely well?
What do you count as extremely well? I mean, porn sells extremely well.
Let's say even 500,000 copies.
I mean, I don't know.
He doesn't have the information.
Yeah, I've never played any of these games.
Right. So, but I know you're thinking like maybe Honey Pop or something like that. But
there's a new one that one of the YouTubers that I watch is Let's Playing called Honey Cam Tycoon or something like that.
Oh,
that's like a cam girl.
Yeah, that came out recently.
I have no idea what you guys are talking about.
It's on Steam, and it's very.
There's not actually any like nakedness.
No,
in
I get
it.
that.
It's just
there is.
There is. I'm just really surprised. I have no idea what this is.
Yeah,
you manage.
It's a cam girl simulation.
No, you manage a cam girl company.
Yeah.
Okay, I like those.
You
like
hire
games.
cam girls.
That's pretty funny. Back when I was a younger man, some of those games, like the management and things like that, the management was really fun, and I was I literally would be like Googling like insert XXX game here, but not porn version or something like that. One of them, which perverse listeners may know which one I'm talking about, but it was a feudal simulator game where you took over Japan, province by province, and I Googled it and I found one that's like it, but not porn interlinked, called Sengoku. And Sengoku is super fun. And although it's a little bit too intense, and I'm like, crap, the other one was easier to learn, of course, right?
Right.
But I finally found one that's like that, which I looked at all the reviews, and all the reviews were like, this isn't as good as Europa Versailles X59 whatever. And I'm like, that's probably true. And then like one reviewer was like, this is better than this porn game. I'm like, hey, I'll buy it. So yeah, that's kind of funny when that happens. But talking about the indie games, unless you had more Final Fantasy 15 to go off of.
This is our Final Fantasy.
Yeah, really.
Yeah. I think it's time to move on.
I played what we watched yesterday morning before we started recording. The Gungeon.
Yeah,
Gungeon.
Gungeon. It Carter got it. And
real quick, Enter the Gungeon, available on Steam now. It's a twin stick shooter game, right?
Totally not paid to say that.
It's like if you know Binding of Isaac, it's like honestly. So Binding of Isaac came before.
Honestly.
But honestly, it's better than Binding of Isaac by quite a bit. That doesn't mean that Binding of Isaac in any way failed. They came first. This one, I feel like, honestly built on that legacy.
For
I
reals?
would say.
For reals?
For reals.
So
Wow.
I really liked Binding. I really like Binding of Isaac, and I really like Enter the Gungeon. But I feel like they serve different. They fill different needs for that. Like, or they serve different. They're not quite in the same category. Other than the fact that they're twin stick shooters, because Binding of Isaac is it's very heavily geared towards the synergies of all of your collectibles.
What?
So you get like 3 or 4 different upgrades and stuff like that, and they all work together to create your attack. Whereas Enter the Gungeon is a collection. Like, you collect guns and you use them one at a time. But
you also
they
have special
fun
abilities.
Guns.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't see a lot of comboing going on, but I didn't.
There
I've
is
only
some
played for an
comboing
hour.
in Enter the Gungeon, but not a lot, and it's not the main focus. The main focus is the guns.
I see that.
The other thing is Binding of Isaac is for people who like gross, disgusting
Yeah,
stories.
it's pretty gross. And this one's very cute for being all about guns.
It
little
is
happy
very
bullets.
cute. Oh man, at PAX they had the little costume of the gun.
Oh really? That's pretty cool.
I didn't see that at all.
He was like, only the first day was someone in it, and then they just sort of sat the the bullet
no.
down with the
I'm
face.
sure it was really hot.
Yeah.
So it's local co-op only.
Yeah.
You cannot play co-op online.
Which is fine.
It's a little bit of a bummer. Because I've got friends who want to play that with me, and they can't.
So it's an indie game.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I'm glad that they at least did that in the beginning for release, because not a single indie game has released with online co-op that wasn't completely unplayable. Indie games do not know how to handle online co-op or online anything, really.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I think they just don't attract that type of team member. You're not really going to have like a networking engineer or programmer who's going to want to join an indie team.
You're that, and you're an indie shop, so you can't really put the resources forward for a matchmaking server.
Right.
Well, yeah, like running the server infrastructure.
Yeah, 1/6 of your team is just server infrastructure.
Right.
Is kind of a lot. If you're not like Battlefield 3 or something.
Right. You have to be expecting major sales to actually support them.
To support them. So I understand that, and it makes sense.
But it would have been nice if that was possible.
Also, in the co-op, second player can only be one character. First player gets to choose any character he wants to be. Second player has to be... he has a Nerf dart gun, the revolver, but he has to be the little purple guy. You cannot choose who you are. And I understand why they did that also from a
They did that in
design
Binding
perspective.
of Isaac, too.
Oh, I didn't even know Binding of Isaac had co-op.
It had co-op. Your second player is a ghost.
Well, when you die, your second player is a ghost in this.
Yeah.
But he starts with the ability to revive someone. And that's his only thing, which makes him strong and a good choice. But still, you're kind of bummed because whoever's 2-player basically gets no customizability past what they find in the dungeon. So that was kind of a bummer. The bosses we went up against 3 different bosses. Really well animated. Man, their artists, fantastic job. Really good job.
The whole aesthetic of the game is just great.
And and it plays really well. You never feel like... I never felt like I was gypped, ever. And that's important.
Anytime you die, it's your fault. You don't feel like the game is cheating you.
Yeah, and man, it runs so smooth for having like a billion jillion things on screen at the same time. It runs perfectly. So...
Yeah, and I love all the gun puns. Everything's got a punny name. A lot of the guns that you pick up. So all of the bosses have punny names.
The gore gun.
Yeah.
Yeah, the gore gun.
A lot of the guns that you pick up are references to things, movies, other video games, stuff like that. Or just like self-referential, like the pea shooter is a pea pod.
Yeah.
It's got a lot of fun variety, which I like. It's good. Y'all should pick it up. It's on Steam for something dollars.
Yeah, it looks really fun.
It's about $14, and it's super
That's
worth
great.
It's on sale right
That's
now until the 16th,
Hmm.
which is soon.
I would say it's honestly like $14 is.
I think it's $20 normally. It's on sale right now for $14.
Yeah, 14 is
right.
easily worth it. I would still say it's worth it at 20. It's a really good game.
Yeah.
You've been excited about it for a while. I got to really watch it yesterday, and it looked good. It's something I might consider picking up, even though I probably wouldn't have before.
Yeah, I want it on my Vita. if it's local co-op only, I actually want it on my Vita.
How do you play with other people on your Vita?
You don't. But saying that, I have other people who own it, and I could just go and log into their Steam computer or whatever. I don't know. I just want it on there. That's like I have Rogue Legacy on the Vita, and it's so good.
Oh, I didn't know that was on the Vita.
Yeah, I bought it a second time on there, and it's super fun. I'm really sad that the Vita didn't do better because not a lot comes to it,
Right.
and which is just it's a negative feedback loop to make the whole system useless.
It's old at this point.
I guess so, but it doesn't feel old at all. Like it still feels like my most advanced tech I have in the house is the Vita.
But I mean, it's been out for 7 years.
No, this has not been out for 7 years.
5 years.
I think 3, maybe 4.
No way.
We're gonna find out.
Maybe it'll be. I bet it's gonna be right in the middle of our predictions.
Right, 5.5.
Like it came out at least PS3. Like
not with the PS3.
But that era. PS4's been out for a while now.
2 years.
What? No.
Has it not?
No.
Has time been slipping?
Yeah. Time keeps on slipping.
Into the... you're going to sing along with us? God.
To the future.
Released in Japan December 2011.
So
North America, February 2012. So we're looking at 4 years and a month.
Ooh,
For the
4
Vita?
years, buddy.
Yep.
4 years.
How long has the PS4 been out?
I don't know. I don't have it. But
You need a
I really
PS4.
like the
3 years.
Vita a lot. The only thing that is really stupid about the Vita is that as a person who like I share the Vita with Katie, they very, very clearly thought that whoever buys the Vita has no significant other because you cannot change profiles without resetting the Vita to factory settings. You have to do it every single time.
Well, handhelds are supposed to be personal gaming systems. It's for you. Like, none of them do that.
No, I can switch on my...
You can do it on the PSP, but...
Yeah, on the well, that's the thing. The previous iteration led us to believe we could just swap our memory cards and everything's fine. But of course, the PSP was like a wide open... It was basically as open source as consoles get.
But I mean, no one does that. That's why they removed it. You don't.
Some people do.
You can't do that with the Nintendo DS's
I do it.
or anything like that. You're supposed to just buy one for both of you.
Yeah, well, that's greedy.
No, it's not.
And yeah, it is.
That's
Demanding that I buy two of your consoles.
By the company, not by the consumer.
oh,
Yeah,
Expecting the household to
They
have
were
more
also
than one.
very expensive. Is the thing.
Yeah.
When they came out, they're more than the Wii U when they came out.
Mm-hmm.
When the Wii U came out, like they're more expensive than it was like $300 or something.
They're more powerful than the Wii U.
Not than the Wii U. They're more than the Wii.
Probably the Wii U too. I mean, have you used a Wii U?
Yeah. I really like the graphics on it. Whatever.
Yeah, all right.
You don't own one, do you?
Yes, I do.
Oh.
World's slowest hard drive.
That's probably true. Yeah, so what else are we playing?
Well, no, that was news. That was Enter the Gungeon came out.
Enter the
Well, I
Gungeon
played
came
it,
out.
so.
Well, because I know Brandon wanted to talk about Starbound actually being
Starbound.
released.
Starbound's not released yet, but it's
About
on the
to be
road. It's on the
released.
road to 1.0.
Yeah, which it's been on the road to 1.0 for how long now?
About 4 days.
Okay.
It's been on the road for 1.0 about 4 days when it was announced.
No, but it's been in development for 2.5 years that you could play it.
Yeah, it's been in early access on Steam. It's made a lot of changes in that time.
Yeah, it has.
Um,
If you hated it when it came out, it's a new game now. Just
it's a
try it
whole
now.
new world. There's been a lot of updates. They've added a whole lot more aesthetic materials, a lot more furniture that you can do. There's a new tech progression tree for you to go through.
The
They've
story
added-
progression's been... If you played story progression in their last update,
It's been completely redone as a
not
quest.
completely.
It is completely redone as a quest system.
Well, yes, as a system, but you're going to recognize a lot of the things that you do.
The-
So I'm saying I'm saying it's polished now.
Well, okay, I guess it depends on what version you're talking about. In the first build, it was a build this item, beat this boss. That is no longer the tier progression.
Yes, I'm not saying the progression, I'm saying the content. You go to the same environments. Like where it's like beat this boss, you still go there. They still use that asset.
But it's the same boss, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what I'm saying.
But, well, no, actually, it's not anymore. They've changed the bosses, too.
Okay, then it's not. Okay.
Yeah, it's very different.
Brandon's
it's now,
confusing me.
It's now a quest mission system, so you go to a special map.
You did
and-
that before.
Okay, not in the first version.
Not in the first, but the last one
That's
I
a
played.
very so that's a very recent thing.
I last played it like 6-7 months ago.
Yeah, about 6 months ago,
Okay. All right.
which was the last build that they made.
There you go. I said this last build.
Okay, sorry, I missed that then.
Um,
They have changed that slightly then.
they've polished it. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just
Yeah.
saying they tweaked
No, I
it.
liked that. That
Yeah.
was good.
Yeah, me
they've,
too.
they've tweaked some of it. They've added more missions. They've added the outpost. They've added more missions to the outpost and changed the outpost a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
You now have teleporters, which is something everyone has wanted. So you
Yeah.
can do teleports to specific locations on the planet. You can teleport to different planets instantly from any teleporter, which is nice.
Yeah, I really did. I really did want that. I know it's like a spacefaring exploration game, but it was so hard. It was so hard to remember where you put your base.
Yeah, because before that, the only way
You said it as home.
Yeah.
Before, but
So
then you had like multiple.
so you could only teleport down to the planet at the spawn point.
Yeah.
And if no one builds their base at the spawn point, because you go for the flattest area. So
Actually, I don't. I go for the most ridiculous area and build it. But to each their own.
so they added that. They're not cheap though. You have to get a teleportation core, which is fairly expensive, or you can explore and find them for free.
Right. That's fine. I like that. I just like having the ability to do that.
You also have ship upgrades. You can get a larger ship. There's a few tiers in size with a lot of rooms you can add to it.
If you were an early access adopter, actually, I think they gave it to everyone now, but they have a new race. That's the Star Child or whatever.
Yeah.
Nova Kid.
Yeah, the Nova Kid. That was a stretch goal. That wasn't an early access only
was it?
thing. Yeah. Anyway, everyone gets that. They sold enough to be able to do that.
Okay. Well, anyways, the ship upgrade on them, I went through their entire ship upgrade thing. It's novel, and then about 30 hours in, you're really tired of it. So I would say don't go with the Nova Kid the first time unless you like this idea. The thing is, they're old Western, old timey.
The cowboys.
They're cowboys, and their spaceship is a train.
Mm-hmm.
And every time
Space
you
train.
upgrade it, it adds another
Caboose.
another
Car,
car. That's it. The first one is small. The second one starts small, then you upgrade it and it gets big, and you're
Yeah.
like, oh,
It's like
maybe the
cargo
third one will
hold.
just get bigger. No. The third one is small again, and then the fourth one is small and big again, and then the fifth one is the caboose.
Yeah.
And that makes your ship so long.
Build some teleporters.
Yeah, you have to for your own ship.
So I mean, they never intend. So yeah. So there's the thing is they made the ship upgrades because they thought it would be neat and you could sort of store stuff in there, but they didn't intend people to use it as a base.
I get, but everybody was going to use it as base.
And then people were using it as a base, so they've made some updates to that.
Okay. I love
although
using it as a base.
I don't know that they've changed so much the compartments, but they've you can have crew, you can recruit crew to your ship now.
Right, that's new. That looks really cool.
And I have not played with that, so I'm
you
not
have to
sure
make a
what
colony,
all it does.
and it's not just your ship crew. You have to build a colony on a planet to be able to recruit them into your ship.
You can build you can build your own little town and colonize it with people, and then you can recruit people to your ship, and they put little shops on your ship. You can put. I'm not exactly sure what all the ship people can do.
Yeah, I'm excited to find out though. So it sounds really cool, and are we planning on doing a Starbound playthrough when it comes out? Because it's not hard to run.
That depends on if we can get some computers built by then. At least one of us in this room can't record and play Starbound.
We'll just put a camera behind him.
Yeah, that'll be easy.
No,
we want to see you playing. We want to see your reaction.
If we come to my place, I have a laptop that can do it. And my main computer that I would play on. Mm-hmm. So I could have an extra. Okay. I got to get some DVDs.
I mean, I want to. So, but we're not going to announce anything on the podcast.
Sure. That's up in the air.
Anything's a possibility in the future. So.
Yeah. Who knows? Maybe we'll do a Super Mario 64 playthrough where I have to be upside down the entire time. You know, anything's possible.
Yeah, anything's possible.
So I'd like to play it at some point. I'm not sure where Brandon got the idea that I hated Starbound.
From the first time we mentioned it, when you said, I didn't like the look of it. I only played it for 10 minutes.
No.
He only got to play it.
I played it for 10 minutes because it was before we played D&D. Then we went to go play D&D. I wanted to play more. I said I didn't like Terraria.
Okay. Oh, that's what you didn't like.
I didn't like Terraria.
Speaking of Terraria,
I preferred Starbound.
Now that Starbound's on the road to 1.0, I'm pretty surprised to see that Terraria Otherworld is still completely silent about updates.
Well, they're not competitors, I don't think.
They are now.
I guess.
Terraria Otherworld is Starbound.
Oh,
you go from planet to planet doing Terraria.
Did you see, Edge of Space, right? Oh, okay. Edge of Space literally took Terraria's assets with permission, or bought it, or whatever they did, and made Starbound in like a slightly different scale, but it's
not good,
much worse.
Yeah, so I have seen that on Steam, and I look at it every now and then.
Me too. It pops up on me,
and I do not like the way that looks.
It looks uncanny valley, which is really hard to do with pixels.
Yeah. That is weird.
Everything looks a little...
It just looks bad.
It does. Sorry, art dude, for Edge of Space. Everybody starts somewhere. And you started actually really, really well.
Well, it's not just the art. The game itself doesn't look fun to me.
It's true.
I watched the trailer video.
Part of the thing that sours it, too, like when I watched it first, I was like, oh, they're doing kind of like Starbound, and okay, I'll keep my eye on this. And then I saw them be like, now with Terraria assets, and they really don't match. They don't look right, and also you just took another game's assets and were like, and now that's in here, so like
play our thing instead.
Yeah, it just sounds like you're trying to ride off somebody else's glory without achieving it yourself.
Yeah. Have either of y'all seen Terraria Otherworld?
I have not.
I haven't at all.
Okay. I recommend that y'all go and take a look at it because it looks really good.
Okay.
They took the Terraria engine and sort of improved it a lot. They've got much better lighting system. The pixels are the textures are much higher res. And you go planet to planet, and you have the Crimson and you have the Corruption, and you're trying to, I guess, cure the universe of it. But you also have your base is this little crystal thing that you're upgrading. That's you're upgrading that. You're going planet to planet to find these like core fragments for the crystal to upgrade it. It seems really neat. The trailers that they've shown off look really good, but they're very, very sparse on details or updates. The last one that they did was end of year December, and that's it.
Huh. Weird. Yeah, I don't know much about that. Yeah. I wish my friends would play Starbound with me also, but that's why I'm trying to rope you guys into doing it.
I'll get it. Yeah.
They're also my friends.
Someday you'll have some friends.
I know. That'll play things with me.
Someday you'll have friends.
What else is on the upcoming list that y'all are interested in?
Coming out soon list. Total War Warhammer. No? Blank Faces?
They're making another Total War?
Yeah.
Wait, Total War as in the Warhammer series,
Yes.
but done with Total War
Yes.
series?
Like Dynasty Warriors, Hyrule.
I mentioned this. I think I'm not sure if you heard. I never played a Total War game.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
I played Total War Rome, and I wouldn't call that Dynasty Warriors.
No,
You're commanding an army.
No, that's not the comparison I was trying to make.
Oh.
I was saying that essentially a well-known, I would call it encapsulation for a game where they can just insert whatever into that. And Dynasty Warriors did that with Gundam and,
I see.
Hyrule.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So Total War Warhammer, I found out since last time we talked about it that it does have official online co-op, which Total War Shogun 2 had, which is the last one I bought. And I love playing co-op campaign. I hope they introduce hot seat as well because man, I love hot seat campaigns. You can have a real party with that. Hot seat campaign with like 4 people would be amazing. But that's really specific and not a huge feature, so I don't think they'll do it. But so it's coming out with 4 armies to start with a 5th DLC extra. I really hate that that's the state of the industry now, but now I can't blame anyone who does it because everybody does it. It's just how the industry is now.
Yeah, you can blame at least one. You can get mad at least one person for it, though. Nintendo, who went on record as saying we'll never do DLC and now does constant DLC.
Yeah, their DLC is crap, though.
Yeah.
Like, I've been waiting for DLC for Xenoblade Chronicles X, and they have none. Even though they have it on the store all the time in the DLC section, and it's a big banner by itself, and then you click on it, it's just that you can download assets in order to make it run faster, which you really need to do, but it takes up like 80% of your hard drive.
But they have a bunch of DLC for
Pikmin?
No. What's that?
Super Smash Bros?
That one.
I knew I'd get it eventually. There's not that many.
Yeah.
They have a ton of DLC for Super Smash Bros.
Yeah, a bunch of like character reskins that they've given names and stuff.
Well, and of course the amiibos are literally DLC in corporeal form.
No. The amiibos are physical LC.
All right. Anyways,
the content's already on the game for the amiibos. They're just not allowing you.
I like how you chose to make an acronym from them, like calling it physical
LC.
content.
yeah.
But the difference, and this is why the amiibos really piss me off more than anything. The content is already on the game. Like, it's not on the amiibo and the game's loading it from the amiibo. It's on the game, and they won't let you use it unless you buy another $13 figurine. Same with Mario Maker. If you want the 8-bit giant Mario, you have to buy the anniversary edition amiibo of Mario.
Yeah. I know.
It makes me so mad.
I know. And Katie really likes the little figurines. And the fact that they have a use also is really exciting to her. And I like them okay for figurine. We don't have any, figurines really of things we like. But
the one use of the amiibo that I am perfectly okay with, and if this was all that they use them for, I would be great. Do it. Collect as many as you want.
Yeah.
The one use is you can save stuff to them. So I've got Yoshi's Woolly Wool, and I can save my Yoshi and my Yoshi stats and my Yoshi skin to it and take it to someone else's house and put that down and go in as player 2 with my Yoshi.
Right.
Yeah, that's really cool.
So that's what I don't understand about so you can make a customized version of your dude in Super Smash Brothers, right? They have like a few extra moves.
fighters.
Right. Well, and besides that, also you can make a Sheik who has a different attack and things like that.
You can customize them, and you can save those to the amiibos.
Right, but the amiibos play themselves. You don't play that.
Right. But they level up.
Right, and they level up to where then in literally, if you did that every day for in a week, they're top level and murdering you.
Yeah, but some people like that.
I don't. I think it's really lame.
Well, then don't do it.
I don't see how people like that.
Some people like challenge.
I mean, sure, but do you think everybody who's buying Amiibos wants to get their butt beat by it every single time?
I think the people that are doing that do. Like,
I'm saying that it could have had a better feature.
I'm confused by your argument here.
I'm saying that a better feature would have been to save your fighter so that you can go to somebody else's house, put your Amiibo there, and it saved your version of your fighter that you can play as.
Yeah.
That makes just instantly more sense to me.
Yeah, and they do that with some... It's just... they did that with... just Smash Brothers, really, is where they did that. It sounded like a neat thing. You could level up your fighter and send him over there and watch him obliterate your friends, but...
Yeah, I found
it's not
no
fun
use
to
for that.
us, but some people enjoy that.
I guess, but they probably only enjoy it for like a few times that happens. Do you think they continuously go over there and are like, "Oh, my guy's defeating you again for the 100th time. This is so amusing. I'm not playing."
The problem is we don't care for it, but the people who have friends that do care for it, it's probably much more fun for you to level up your guy, send him over there, and fight your other friend's guy. Like, you just see who's
like
doing
Pokemon?
better. Yeah, like a
But
tournament
without you
style.
even commanding them. I
Right.
don't think anybody finds that really fun.
You underestimate
I
kids.
especially don't think that the vast majority of people who purchase Amiibos find that fun.
The vast majority of people who purchase Amiibos do it purely so they can collect them.
Right.
That they are collectibles. That nobody likes that the part of their game is blocked off by an Amiibo.
Right, no.
It's purely for collectible. Nintendo is just doing that to justify
like
making them.
Yeah, I feel like Nintendo...
So they're not going out and saying, "Hey guys, it's Pokemon version 2.
Yeah.
Everyone, just get your Amiibos. Woo!
Yeah.
Oh, we're gonna stop selling them now. Oh no, you waited too long." Like,
Yeah.
that's the other thing. Don't block off part of my game and then stop selling the Amiibo. That makes that game accessible.
Well, now they've released all of them again. Like, none of them are rare now. None. If anybody says, "Oh, I have the rare Amiibo,"
No, you don't.
no, you don't.
Not
They're
anymore.
not rare. They were slightly rare for a while, just due to like supply and for them
Right.
to test out the market, and then people went nuts, and then they utterly devastated that collector idea by making them wildly and totally available.
Yeah, you should just be able to like go to the Nintendo store and say, "I want that Amiibo," and then buy it for the consistent price that they all sell for.
That's the nice thing is they're relatively cheap. They're not that expensive.
They all sell for the Nintendo sells them all for the exact same price, regardless of if they're limited or not.
Yeah, I like that.
Which is great,
Yeah.
but they limited them originally, and so you could, if you got there and got the $13 Amiibo, or however much they are, $20, I think.
No, 14.
$14, okay, yeah. So you get the $14 Amiibo, and then you waited too long, and they only sold like 200 of them, and now they're up on eBay for $10,000, and it's like, ugh.
Yeah, and then the factory broken ones or whatever, I'm like 99% sure those were just fake. Like, it doesn't make sense in a factory setting for there to be double Metroid guns.
Yeah.
How would that gun have been attached to the other side of a model that is a mold? That doesn't make any sense. That doesn't happen. That's not a thing.
Well, they're not molds, first of all.
Are they not?
No, they're just like action figures.
They look like molds.
The parts are molded and then glued together. So they do actually have arms that are separate.
Right, but how would you get a
They're also not all made out of plastic. Yoshi's Woolly Wool is made of yarn.
Right. Yeah, but I'm saying how would something get to the other side and be glued in a perfect orientation?
They wouldn't.
Yeah.
No, those are sure. Those are
that's
fake.
what I mean. I know that they're not, the entire thing is not in, like, the whole thing is not a casing mold.
Right. I mean, problems like that sprung up when people were manning these factories. That doesn't happen anymore.
Right. Yeah.
Well,
Anyways.
I mean, I guess it might. I mean, it depends on how cheap you want to go.
Yeah.
Retooling a factory is expensive.
So Total War Warhammer, they have a lot of really cool new features that haven't been in, because it's a fantasy setting. I don't think they've ever done a fantasy setting.
Total
ever.
War?
Yeah. That I can remember. They have medieval Rome, Attila, Shogun, Empire, Napoleon, and then now we have Warhammer. And right now, I don't know if you follow any Warhammer at all, but Warhammer Fantasy and 40K is exploding because I don't know exactly what happened, but clearly they released the license for everybody to do something like a year or two ago or something like that, or longer, 3-4 years ago. And all of these games are coming out for Warhammer, and a lot of them are really good. What's it called? Vermintide. Vermintide is a Left 4 Dead knockoff that is 100 times more satisfying than Left 4 Dead. I love that game because they actually made melee combat really, really fun because almost everything is melee with swords and stuff instead of just zombie hands grabbing you and slowing you down. You actually get to like bing bong, slice, 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 slice. It's really, really fun.
Bing bong, ding bong.
Yep.
I got into Warhammer with the RTSs.
Dawn of War.
Whatever they're called.
Yeah.
I got like 3 or 4 of them, but the last one that I got looked like an RTS, and I was like all the ones that I bought previously. It was in the same series, had the same title, name, prefix or whatever,
right,
as the RTSs. And then I got it, and it wasn't an RTS.
What was it?
It was, one of those Champions games where you control a hero, and you've got like a couple of people behind you, and you go down and do a mission. I can't remember that. I can look up my phone.
Are you talking about like it's a small squad?
Yeah, you have a small squad.
Then yes.
Like Champion style, yeah.
Yeah, that was the latest Dawn of War 2.
Yeah. And,
I agree that was a really, really weird decision.
Yeah, I didn't like it. Not to say that I didn't like the game.
I liked the game,
granted,
but I didn't like that
I didn't play the game.
Did that, yeah.
At the time, I was pretty much only playing RTSs, though, and I bought that game for like $60.
Yeah.
Because it was in the same line series as all of the other RTSs, which were great.
Right. That happened to a lot of people.
And then I was like, what the hell?
To be fair, the multiplayer was still an RTS.
Okay, I didn't play the multiplayer. I don't have any friends. Yeah.
You could still play versus CPU and stuff, but that was what was extra weird, was that the multiplayer was a different game than the single player.
Like, that would be super weird.
It really was. And I played the multiplayer of that game far, far more than I played the single player, so I enjoyed that. And then they introduced Last Stand, which was Champions multiplayer, kind of survival wavy mode. And then we played a lot of that. So it kind of like cycled, like its own game cycled. It was weird.
It is weird, yeah. I don't like it when they're not consistent in their like genre. Like,
I don't care about that, but I do think that they need to portray it as such, which I guess is what the trailers and stuff are for.
Right. If you're gonna make a series, it's really weird. So they made a series, and there was the whole series called Dawn of War, right?
Right.
So the Dawn of War series, there is a story, just like StarCraft has a story. There's a story with them, and you're sort of progressing through the years, I guess. And it was noticeable in that the units were changing and getting less and less. There was less you could do with each game, it seemed like, from what I remember. Like, the one prior to the Champions one was...
Are you just talking about the expansions, like Soulstorm and things like that?
No, I've got 3 of them. I'd have to look them up.
Well, because there's Dawn of War, and then there's Dawn of War Soulstorm, there's Dawn of War Winter Attrition or something like that, and then another one that I don't remember.
Here we go.
But they were all basically the same. They just added units and a new campaign.
Well, so the one prior to the... what was the Champions one called?
Dawn of War 2.
That one's... No, it wasn't. What?
You're talking about where, you go down, you have a mission, you have a world map, you select it, and then you're like, I'm going to send... I forgot their names, but like Datrius and Titus and Infidius, and they're going to go down and wreck things. And they have like 2 guys with them besides just the champion.
Okay, so...
that's just Dawn of War 2.
Okay, well, the RTS prior to that one had less structures you could build and less units you could do because they were sort of transitioning into a more hero-based. So you would build heroes, or recruit heroes, whatever.
I don't know which one you're talking about. So
the one that I played then.
I feel like I've played all of them too, so you might be, I don't know.
But it was, see, so I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 of them, and these are not expansions; these are individual games. Dawn of War, T. I don't know. I can't click on this for some reason.
It's cutting off.
Oh.
It's truncated the title. It's not named T. He just doesn't like the screen rotation, which will make things wider that he can actually read on a web page.
This isn't a web page.
Oh well, it still should do it on the app.
There we go. So, Dawn of War,
Mm-hmm.
Game of the Year edition was fun. Dark Crusade.
That's an expansion.
Was fun. It's a standalone game on Steam.
It stands alone, but it's an expansion.
And then you're right. The one I didn't like was Dawn of War 2. The one before that, though, it was either Dark Crusade or Winter Assault. I think it was Winter Assault.
Or Soulstorm.
No, it's Winter Assault. I don't have Soulstorm.
He doesn't have Soulstorm. He's saying of those two.
Oh, these are what you own.
Finish the statement.
Yeah,
of those two.
Of these two, one of them was more... It was almost squad-based. You would recruit, like, 6 or so heroes. You could still build the buildings and stuff and the upgrades and stuff, but your tech tree was much more limited than it was on the first one.
Okay.
But you would build it like almost a small squad, but it was still an RTS. You still had full map control, and you were looking around and all of that. But your squads, your squads were smaller, and you would go out and you would try and take over the little, King of the Hill style, take over the little capture points. Whichever one of those two it was, I remember being slightly disappointed. But then the Heroes version came out where it was more third person, and I was like. But it's almost as if they did that subtle transition though, where you squad and now
that might be showing
squad.
Their development different. Yeah, that they started doing that. Of course, the Total War series. This is by Total War.
Yeah.
And they
which I have a couple of.
Their choices. I guess I don't follow Warhammer Fantasy very much, but their choices of the armies you get to play as right now, and I assume all the rest will be DLC or whatever.
Probably.
Which
makes sense. That's their normal game. Their normal,
Well,
modus operandi.
Shogun 2, I think, is their best game they've ever made with their best ideas they've ever done, which is their DLC radically... They were expansions, and they radically changed the game, and I've bought every single one of those. Now, they did have DLC. This was weird. So, at the time, you couldn't pre-order games on Steam. And they had a pre-order bonus for the Hattori clan. Just the Shadow Clan, who is OP as balls, by the way. But they...
pre-order to win.
Yeah. I didn't know that I couldn't order a physical copy from anywhere. Nobody would let me do it in Huntsville. Not exactly like I had much choice there.
Right.
I don't think they did pre-orders then either. This was like 2011?
Oh. No. 2011? They had pre-orders 4 years ago.
Well, maybe. I don't remember looking for it for this one. And I don't know that you would have gotten the pre-order bonus through them anyways.
See, that... Well, we can have a whole...
That's a whole other thing.
That stuff pisses me off.
But,
does anything not piss you off?
I wanted a physical copy. I like physical copies of games. When I got Skyrim that same year, and it just was like, hey, download it off of Steam. I just wanted to murder them. That was so dumb.
Skyrim had a great collector's edition with the map and everything.
They always have the maps in. I really like that.
Actually,
I have an Oblivion, a Morrowind, and a Skyrim.
Like, it might have had a different map, but the regular games come with nice maps.
Yeah, they do. The regular game came with
the map. So I didn't get physical copies of Skyrim, so I didn't know that.
Yeah, they do. They're really cool.
You didn't get a physical copy of something?
I got it from Steam.
You didn't get a physical copy of something?
All of my PC games are on Steam. I don't have physical copies of most of them.
See, I have a ton of PC physical copies of games, so the funny thing is you never open them. They're just there.
I guess I do now because of the indie box. I've got a ton of physical copies.
Right, there you go.
Although those are just USB keys that install Steam.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. Anyway, so there's 4 armies that you get. Total War, I keep trying to say this point, so I'll say it. You get greenskins, which are orcs. You get the Empire, which are humans. You get the vampires, which are like undead and things like that. And then you have the dwarves. Mm-hmm. Or obviously dwarves. And then the 5th one is a Chaos Tribe. They're not like an army, they're like tribal. So they're kind of like Attila, I guess.
Yeah.
So that was one of the things I really liked about the Warhammer RTSs was the classes or races.
Seemed really,
they were really unique and a lot of fun. And
yeah. Necrons were OP.
Necrons, yeah.
And Grey Knights were my favorite.
I think I always played as the Necrons.
My favorite thing in RTSs is to have elite squads that just chew through people. So that's why I always play like the West Germans in Company of Heroes. Did you ever play Company of Heroes?
I have it. I have not played it.
Do you have 1 or 2?
I don't know. I didn't buy them. Someone gave them to me.
Okay, I play 2 all the time. And we played 1 all of the time. The only issue I have with it is the machine guns, because it's a suppression mechanic, not a killing mechanic, which is not what machine guns do. I mean, yeah, they suppress you, but if you're in the middle of the field, they kill you. Opposing Fronts, Tales of Valor. Yeah, you have one. I really like Company of Heroes a lot. They kind of put the first fresh take on RTS that RTS had in years. That was in 2007 when the first one came out, because they introduced cover mechanics for your dudes.
There's been RTSs prior to that with cover mechanics.
Yeah, but not very well implemented.
There was one on the Genesis that had it.
I don't know that one.
What game was that?
I couldn't judge that one.
It wasn't really an RTS; it was a squad game, but.
Oh, well,
that's different.
Yeah.
What game was that?
I can't. I wish
You
I
don't
knew
even know what it was called.
I wish I knew because I really want it. That game was really fun.
Interesting.
But you had a squad of like 4 or 5 people, and you would move them through a
We should play it sometime.
field.
Yeah, so if someone knows what that is, please tell us so that we can play it.
Yeah,
And
that'd be
we'll
pretty
actually
cool.
do a series for it or something.
So
Stuff Brandon wanted to play but couldn't remember what it was called.
yeah, the series.
The series. I think it happens a lot.
Yeah.
I played so many games.
What,
And
so
then
what,
you said you weren't a gamer.
yeah, really.
Not anymore.
So what else are people looking forward to?
Are we continuing?
Mm-hmm.
Dishonored 2 is supposed to be coming out
No,
sometime
no
this
touching.
year.
So
Are you into that?
We
Miguel?
know Moose's whole
I
philosophy.
could say it again. I just don't know
I
if
think
it
we
bear-
have it
I
on the
don't-
podcast.
I don't think it bears repeating because
Yeah.
that would actually give that game some sort of credit.
Yeah, I don't like that game.
I figured that would be your response to that.
So
Gears of
care
War
less, yeah.
4 is coming out.
I couldn't care less.
I'll play it.
Eventually.
I definitely
I'll
won't.
play it.
Did y'all play the Deus Ex series?
Yeah.
What'd you think of that? I own it, but I haven't played it yet.
I really like Deus Ex, the first one,
Mhm.
and I felt like the reboot did a fantastic job, which is rare-ish these days. Tomb Raider is the only other example, but that was after like 3 failed
Yeah,
reboots,
they tried.
and then they finally were like,
Multiple times.
let's
They got it right.
completely
eventually.
redo this idea. So yeah, it was good. I don't have a whole lot to say about Deus Ex. That I really feel like their
This
palette
one
was too
screenshot
limited.
looks pretty nice, though.
Does it? It just looks like a whole bunch of dumb stuff with yellow and blue.
It's just a bunch of sparks flying and
Yeah.
a gun.
Yeah, and a gun. Yeah, with yellow on the left and blue on the right, because that's the only when we
There's a red laser
Yeah,
across
there's a red
it.
laser.
man when we distill color theory down to blue and orange or blue and yellow, and like that, they're like, okay, we have to make everything blue and then everything over there yellow. It's just like, unless you're Portal, you need to do a little bit more. In which case, their game was built on simplicity, right? So they had
Right,
to go with
they had
that.
to go
And
with that.
even still, they had very nice mid-tones and
Mm-hmm.
tonal shifts and things like that. And then you went outside of those sterile environments. But you kind of have to know the rule to break the rule, right?
Right.
And
Yeah. Even still, I feel like you could forgive Portal of anything because Portal wasn't a game; it was an experiment. Portal 2 was a game. Portal
Right.
1 was an experiment.
yeah, originally it was a tech demo, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Very good.
There's a couple of games that I'm looking forward to coming out soon, and I'm probably gonna want to build new computer for them.
What games?
Obviously, No Man's Sky.
No Man's Sky.
Despite how bad that collector's edition is, I am looking forward to No Man's Sky.
I'm ready for somebody else to play it, and then I'll find out if I'm going to play it. I don't have good experiences with those games.
If you're not into Space Sims,
I am. But I am continuously disappointed by Space Sims.
so the one thing though is, so this isn't your traditional Space Sim.
I know you get to go to a planet and actually explore the planet and build a little bit of things.
Well, even more than that, my understanding is, and I could be wrong, my understanding, so in a traditional Space Sim, it's more about you're flying a ship and you can do a lot of things, but the traditionally you can do a set of things, which is trade,
Mine.
trade, mine, combat.
Yeah. The Holy Space Trinity.
Yeah. From what I understand, No Man's Sky doesn't do that. It's more of an explore, discover, and there's combat obviously, but you're not really going around like
Is there
setting up
combat?
trade.
I didn't
Yes,
want
there-
combat.
Then yes,
I-
there is combat.
You can get on a world
Well, you
and
can-
encounter.
You can defend yourself against monsters, or you can just go ham on them. But if you attack the animals, then there's like a space PETA that comes down and
that's cool.
you've got to defend yourself against space PETA.
Oh, they're actually like attackers.
Yeah,
that's cool.
But it's mostly exploring randomly generated universe with randomly generated animals, and you get points and stuff for discovering animals, and you use those points as currency to do other things, ship upgrades and weapons upgrades. But I don't think that there's like you don't set up like a mineral trading empire like you do in EVE Online and stuff like that.
Right. I played EVE for like 5 months, and I still don't know what I got accomplished, if anything.
Yeah.
You supported the war effort.
Yeah, really. But so I don't know. I get disappointed by this a lot, and I know randomly generated is a way to do it. I know like Starbound and Terraria have randomly generated, but I feel like those are very controlled random generations for the most part, where they make sure like you have the dungeon and it's a dungeon layout, and they have like Enter the Gungeon also.
Right.
I've ran into the same room, even only playing it an hour. I ran in the same room like 2 or 3 times.
No, yeah, you're right. It's
like designed random.
Yeah, Terraria and Starbound, the biomes are randomly generated from an algorithm, and then pre-laid dungeons are supplanted into those biomes.
Right. I like that. I'm just kind of over this randomly generated phase, because it feels like it feels like some people are trying to phase. It feels like level designers are for big names, like AAA titles where they're going to have like 100 levels or something like that. But I feel like level design is game design, and if you just kind of ignore that part of it, sometimes you get a subpar experience.
I disagree. I think that the role of the level designer is shifting. There is still a level designer in a randomly generated environment.
But he has to be like a programmer. He can't be like a...
No.
No? You don't think
so I don't know if you... So they've done... They've actually been really open about the development process, which I really love. They've got some really good interviews that they've done and some talks and stuff where they've shown off the tools. They have an algorithm, and they have a tool for tweaking the algorithm. With pretty much all of the variables laid out. Your level designer is the guy tweaking those things, and then they've got a program that runs through, and it just generates millions of worlds, takes screenshots of the worlds, and then they compare. So I changed this one little thing here. What did it change?
Like that, yeah.
Well, no, like I changed legs should operate like this, or I changed colors like this, or the color generator should have this value. Like, it's not just seeds, it's actually like variables in the algorithm that they're changing, and it generates millions of screenshots.
That's what I was saying. That's programming. That's not.
But it's not like they're not actually programming anything.
They're changing variables, which is the role of some programmers. That's not exactly top level programming.
In a Unity world, though, that's what level designers are doing now. Anyways, there's a lot of variable changing and stuff like that. Or I'm going to build a world and then drag a script on. Like you're right. In this day and age, you need to know how to program to be in the game industry, regardless of what you're doing. But you should be knowing how to, even in graphic design, that's a thing now, because you need to know how to make scripts for different filters and stuff like that for your Photoshop or your GIMP. Or whatever.
You have to make scripts for. You have to make scripts for Maya too a lot.
Yeah, I think what you can't get by without knowing any programming.
I think what Wes is trying to get at though is that the idea is that progressively generated, doesn't have the craft that a level designer would put into actually placing assets and making the actual level, world, area to his specifications, as opposed to tweaking something and then seeing what happens and selecting something.
And I know you're trying to create several... You're creating a lot more content, but I feel like it's a lot less valuable.
There's a time and a place for randomly generated as well. So I don't think that we've gone beyond where it's acceptable yet. Like, we're not generating Mass Effect worlds randomly. Like, that...
They're... honestly, in Mass Effect 1, you haven't played it yet, but when you land on planets and you explore them, they're just height maps. And they're...
But someone crafted those height maps. Does it change every time you land?
Maybe they crafted those height maps.
Does it change every time you land?
No, but I think that they went through it and just randomly generated height maps. Like, that's what it seems like. Maybe they didn't, and maybe I'm selling them short. I love the game.
You're right.
But
I
that
haven't
part of
played
it-
Mass Effect.
that
If
part
you're
of it
just
just feels
talking
like
about a
random.
hilly landscape, then someone probably didn't design that. They probably did just height map it or sketch out a height map.
I think they just sketched it out, but it still feels like completely undesigned.
But like the ships and stuff, like I haven't played Mass Effect. I can't make this compare. I don't know what's in Mass Effect.
Yeah.
But Final Fantasy 13 wasn't randomly generated. Like there's a place.
I'm not saying it's gone, man.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's all over, but
We're never
going
gonna get to that
go-to
point.
for indies is they don't like designing levels.
Well, I mean, most of the indie games that I've seen that have randomly generated content, it's a random layout of pre-designed content. Enter the Gungeon, for instance, each one of those rooms is designed.
Yeah. And that's like a roguelike in a lot of ways, which
Yeah.
of course relies on that random generation.
Now, there are places that, like, Nuclear Throne was randomly generated because
Right.
it's just one guy making it, and he didn't want to design levels.
Yeah.
He actually did it really interesting. He's got a walker that it starts out all walls, and he's got a walker that starts in the center, or like 2 or 3 of them, and then they just walk in random directions, destroying walls as they walk. And that's how he generates the layout.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't know. That's something for another time. I think there's value in both ways. I just want to make sure that the level design or artist doesn't disappear or doesn't become multiplayer only. That seems to be...
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll talk about that more another time.
I mean, I agree, but there has to be room for both of them. They've got an artist...
I think so, too. I don't say you need to get rid of them. That's not what I was saying. I'm saying there needs to be both of them.
Okay. Good, then. We're on the same page.
There you go.
You should watch those interviews for No Man's Sky, though. The tools that they're using is really cool.
I might check it out. The last time I watched No Man's Sky was 6 months ago, and on one of them, they just were harping so hard on the randomly generated. Imagine all these beautiful worlds, and I'm like, you didn't design any of them. I mean, I know that you spent a ton of time and effort on the algorithm, which should not be, completely waylaid or anything like that.
That's a
but
skill in
but when
itself.
you're talking about like, oh, behold the beautiful thing, I'm like, man, I can go into 100 games and do that now.
That is my concern. They're saying that there's going to be a story, but they're not divulging anything of it.
All about it, yeah.
But that's my concern of it is, I love exploring and I love all of that, but if it's just
I'm cautiously
go
optimistic.
from planet to planet cataloging animals,
next
that's
thing
what it
over.
looked like to me.
because
that
that's
was my
all they've
problem.
shown so far, and then they like briefly showed a little bit of space combat, and then that was it, and then they said that there was a
I
story.
didn't even
but they
see
don't want to
upgrading your
explain it.
ship. I saw maybe buying a new ship, but I didn't see like actually upgrading or having any control over your ship.
Yeah, they've not shown a lot of that stuff yet. It's mostly showing off the planet.
It just looks like it doesn't have a lot of content.
And that's my concern.
Yeah.
But I'm
We'll see.
cautiously optimistic.
We'll see when it comes out, and I'll
Even though the collector's edition is terrible.
yeah.
Then the other thing that I wanted to bring up was Horizon Zero Dawn. Have you guys seen that?
I
Never
don't
even
even
heard
know.
of it.
I don't know what that is.
More space.
blue and orange.
It's
More blue and orange space. Mass Effect
it's
is
kind of
guilty of.
interesting.
Yeah, it is.
So I'm assuming it's far into the future, but like Civilization. I've only watched one trailer, so I don't know the exact details of it. But I think Civilization has fallen, and people have gone back to Primal. Sort of like Far Cry Primal, whatever.
I thought that just was set place in early man.
It
I
was.
had no
No,
idea.
yeah, Primal like that, but they're obviously
okay.
they are
Okay,
early man.
gotcha.
But all of the animals are machines. They're robots. So this thing that I was just showing you here is
it's Transformers dinosaurs.
like that right there is actually a giant mechanical like dinosaur. But you're taking them down. And you're sort of going around and doing all the fighting and stuff. And I think there's a story in there somewhere. I don't know. They haven't shown it off in the trailer that I saw. But it looks beautiful. And it looks really cool fighting those things and taking them down with your like tribe or whatever. And
Check it out.
with your like...
When's that supposed to... Is it early access or what is it?
No, it's a PlayStation, Xbox game.
Okay.
It's a console game. Well, it might be on PC, I don't know.
Another thing I don't like very much is early access. I know why it's so good for studios, but I also feel like it slightly kills their motivation.
I like early access, but here's the thing. What I don't like is people who don't understand what early access is. First of all,
Sometimes developers don't, too.
Well, so first of all, game reviewers definitely don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Never review a game in early access.
Yeah.
It's not complete.
Yeah, but there's people who want to know if it's worth buying yet, which is the
You
point of
can't
the
tell
review.
that, though. If you reviewed Starbound on its first release, which a lot of people did, that is absolutely nothing like Starbound in its latest release. Like,
Right, and I understand that, but
absurd to do
sometimes, like DayZ, it is. That's what you're getting. It even though they update a few things, that's the game you're buying.
But
you're never going to get
regardless
past
of
that.
So again, people don't know what early access is for. If DayZ started out and ended the same, that's fine. But regardless, it shouldn't be reviewed until it's released.
Well, they're
the
never
other
going to
thing
release
is,
it.
well, I mean, DayZ, yeah.
It's its own thing, I know, but that's what I'm saying is that there are these dangers of it.
Well, the other thing is the average consumer shouldn't be buying early access games. The average consumer buys early access games without understanding that this is an incomplete game, and then does the same thing that reviewers do. Oh, I got a bug. What a terrible game.
Oh yeah, if you're complaining about like bugs and things,
Because the average consumer doesn't know what a bug is. They just know that the game is broken, and
Right.
that's it.
right? Yeah, and DayZ is. Well, that's what I thought too. I was like, oh, this is still really early access. Although they came from a mod, and it came out worse than the mod
Yeah.
did. And then they just kept breaking things, and then they've changed engines twice now, and they're thinking of a third change.
Yeah.
And you're like, guys, you're never ever
Not gonna
gonna
make
get
this.
this done.
You're not gonna do it.
And
Yeah.
the main guy left, so you're like, what is happening here?
Yeah, so early access is a useful tool, but because it's still new.
I think he left by now. He said he was going to leave by now.
Yeah, so because it's still sort of a new concept, consumers don't know what it is and think that they're getting a game and they're buying a game.
Right.
Oftentimes at close to the same price as a normal game. Sometimes they're discounted when they're in early access, but I mean,
And
not
sometimes
always.
you're what's that one company that made Planetary Annihilation? Sometimes you're paying twice as much as a normal game.
But yeah, so consumers are getting into that, and I've actually seen some indie games now that actually every time you launch it in the early access phase,
It says like a big warning.
Yeah, a big warning.
I-
This is an early.
I like
it
that,
has
actually.
bugs.
Which DayZ did. But
They have to do that now because consumers are just like, yay, games, I'm going to play a game. Oh, what a shitty game. I'm going to tell my
Yeah, this
friends
is
that this
terrible
game's
right now.
terrible. And then they finally get their release and they're getting released to bad press because everyone was complaining, oh yeah, I played that 6 months ago. Oh, it's constantly terrible. Don't play it.
Right, but the opposite side of that coin is that there's many developers out there.
There are also indie or developers out there who are using it wrong.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, and they essentially they get all the money. They get like a big press break or something like that, and they see themselves make 50,000, 100,000 sales, and then they're like, "Oh, I'm out."
Yeah,
like I'm not
done.
making this game anymore.
Right.
I made all the money I was gonna make. That was my projected income. I'm completely
Deuces.
dropping it. I'm making a new game. And Kickstarter
Yeah.
has that happen a lot too because they don't get any additional income. Right? They just then they do like Starbase DF9. What a crap game that was,
I don't
and that's
even-
Double
I didn't
Fine.
even see that one.
Double Fine
That
got
game
kickstarted.
was canceled.
Yes,
And
it was kickstarted and then early accessed, and I bought it on like sale on early access. Luckily, I didn't spend that much. I spent like $10 on it or something.
Yeah,
like that.
I did too. And
And-
that was so. I mean, the game seemed really fun. But then, like, one day I just looked at the news and it was like, this is our final update. We're fixing some of the known bugs, but there's going to be nothing new.
There's
This
no new
is it.
content. Yeah, this is it, and it's not a game.
It isn't. No.
It is very clearly a demo game still. Like I would honestly still call it a prototype.
Yeah.
Because it's an isometric game where you can only look one way, right? You can never
Yeah.
change the isometric camera,
Okay.
and you can never ever place anything on the walls that are closer to you. So your only real estate is those walls, not the ones
Well,
close
on
to
the
you.
other side, 'cause
Which
you have to be able to see through it.
you need to maintain, and everything takes up like 6 to 8 things, and you can only make like a 12 based room. So you make sterile square rooms over and over
One thing
again
in
with
them.
like one or two things in them.
Yeah.
And it looks terrible and stupid and makes no sense.
Yeah, there's a much better game that I've been playing that I can't remember the name of that I've been pretty happy with instead of that game because they just didn't.
Well,
that
they
game
could
was
probably
terrible.
use like the shadow. And one I've been playing is Kinshi. I don't know if I mentioned that before, but Kinshi is coming out with a whole brand new map, like world map. It calls itself a squad-based survival post-apocalyptic game.
That's a long description.
And I get the developer. I don't know if it's one guy or not. I haven't looked into it. The way the updates are written, it sounds like one guy.
Planet base.
Planet base.
Same thing, but on planets, and much better.
Okay.
And
I
done
might look
way
it up.
better.
Yeah,
but-
remind me of that.
But Kinshi, also Googling it is difficult.
Yeah, because of Kenshi from...
You can look it up on Steam, though. It looks ugly, I'm going to say. But, okay.
Well, you were telling us about this before, weren't you?
I think I was telling you. I don't think Moose was there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't know it.
But
Lo-fi games?
Yeah, lo-fi. The whole...
So it's already set up for...
It like, makes fun of itself, and yet it's one of the most, I would say, fun early access games where you're like, this is clearly early access. But at the same time, you're like, man, look at how much he's accomplished. There's so much interactivity in the world. You can... And there's so much, like, it's a progression game where you start out as a weak little person, and literally the beginning game is you getting beaten up by things, but surviving. It has weird mechanics that I've never seen before, such as, there are bandits, right? And they'll beat you up, but they won't ever kill you. Nobody ever... You can die in this game, but you only die if nobody takes care of you. And often people will take care... You'll be able to wake up, or you'll go into a coma.
First, you start the trailer, and the very first thing is a black screen that says, "You are not the chosen one."
Yeah. I love... I don't know if this is one developer or not, and it seems like he has a few assets that he imports from different places that he buys, but the world doesn't care about you. But it's really... I really think it's worth checking out. You start off as one guy. You can recruit up to like 20 people to run around in a group with you. You develop your strength and things like that, and you can actually build an entire city yourself eventually. But you start off as just one dude who's dirt poor and has nothing, and then you turn it into this big empire where you're making your own food, you're developing technology. So imagine like an RTS game that has way more start game than end game. And when you finally get to end game, like you're sitting there looking at your empire and you're like, wow, I've come a long way. Now it takes you like 40 hours to get there. But it's really good. Just steal some damn food. Yeah. And I've gotten like beat up and all the bandits took all my things, and then I had to go steal things and then run off and never come back to that town again. And you can get sold into slavery and all kinds of stuff. And the aesthetic is very like Star Wars Tatooine, which is my favorite planet out of Star Wars. I love the Tatooine aesthetic. So that's a really cool indie game, and I'm really excited for the upcoming release of the new world map, which is soon, very soon. He released 0.9. Oh yeah, so he's getting really close to the official release of it.
Yeah,
it's been
version numbers don't mean anything.
It's true, but he's been keeping to like what percentage?
Oh, is he?
Yeah,
So his decimal
like
is his
Starbound.
percent.
Yeah.
Starbound hasn't been.
Well, but they're calling the 1.0 release
That's
the thing.
anything prior to 1.0 is made up BS.
Right. They
Anything-
call it like
They're just-
imaginary
okay,
koala or
yeah.
something like that, right? That's their update.
Well, no,
release things.
that's the way software works, because you never know how far until you get to 1.0. So 1.0 is when you are actually ready to start versioning, and then you should be starting using semantic versioning, SymVer, which is a major, minor, revision, and then dash, and then beta, alpha, whatever, and then a release build.
Yeah, I saw that in Battlefield a lot.
But anything prior to 1.0 is complete made up BS. So they could put anything they want on
And it
there,
doesn't mean
which
anything.
is what Minecraft did too. Although they realized really late on that they screwed up their versioning, which is why once 1.0 came out, they were actually on 4.0. They were like, "Hey guys, it's beta version 4.7," and then they released it, and they're like, "Minecraft 1.0."
yeah, that was silly. And now they're on like 2.9. They said
1.9.
Really?
They're on 1.9. 1.9.2.
Okay, whatever. They're silly.
They're actually still not following Simver for some reason.
Yeah, I think that's all of the games that I'm excited for coming out anytime soon. Do you have any of those?
Yeah.
I can't tell when my game's going to come out. I wanted to play Dreadnought this year, and they still don't have a release date for it. Just 2016. So
Yeah.
that's the only thing I really wanted to play. I got to play it at PAX, and I was like, well, this isn't exactly what I wanted because it's a massive space combat sim. Well, massive airship sim basically.
And airship. Is it airship?
They're spaceships, but they operate like airships. They're
Do you
like,
get to run around like a deck and shoot things?
No.
See, okay.
No.
Every single space sim I ever want, and the game that set me up for this is Jump to Lightspeed in Star Wars Galaxies. I want to run around my ship. I want to. I have a giant spaceship. I want to run around it.
It's flights. It's flights. It's combat flight sim.
Yeah.
But the ships kind of operate like airships or submarines. You ascend, descend, and turn. You don't. You can't pitch, roll, or yaw, which is what I assumed you could do because I was like, oh yes, space. I can actually get to fly around the ship. Not really. So,
the X series has some of the best space sims, and they're hugely popular. The latest one, X Rebirth, you do that. You can at any point you can get up from your seat and walk around the rest. You have a small ship, but you can walk around the rest of your ship.
I love it.
That's cool. Yeah.
And you can walk around space stations, and you can walk around those.
I want that every time.
And you can walk around capital ships.
I want X Rebirth. Huh?
The one thing that made a lot of people mad though about that. So there's 4 of them. There's X, X1, X2, or X, X2, X3, and then X Rebirth. In X through X3, you can buy new ships and you can switch around and do all that, and you can actually have a capital ship of your own with a squad and all of that.
Yeah.
And they can dock on your capital ship and all that, but you can't run around your own ships. They don't have an interior.
Right.
In X Rebirth, the ships have an interior, but they changed it and the story, and basically so you only have one ship.
Oh.
You can buy other ships and they'll be in your squad.
But you don't get
But you can only have one ship, and it's a drone ship. So your main combat mechanic, you still have weapons and all that, but your main combat mechanic is you get drones. But you can't fly your own capital ship anymore.
Lame.
You can just hire a capital ship and you can dock at it or anything. It's also got really nice little gravity, like the ships are large enough to have their own gravity wells. So you can actually just fly near your capital ship and you'll turn with it and everything. Like
that's cool. I love that. That's when
yeah.
I play old games and like elevators and stuff don't work right. I always just like bash my head into the ground because it's so awful.
That is one complaint that I had about that. The space stations are huge on the outside, but the area that you can actually go in is very small. Like it's got some running around space, and they're all pretty much the same layout. You've got some running around, and you've got a little shop and things like that. But when you look at it from the outside, then you go inside, and you're like, "Where's the rest of the space?"
Yeah.
Oh, it's behind this conveniently placed construction debris.
Oh, that's funny. All right. Well, I think that is brought us all up to speed on our latest game news and things like that. All
right. We'll see you guys next time with more Behind the Podcast.
We'll argue more about semantics and
Yeah.
what level designers should do.
Let us know
maybe we'll have a topic next time.
Let us know what you think. Send us a comment and follow us on Twitter at BTPixels and on Facebook. We'll see you guys next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.